In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.
I was present when
Hello, good night, and welcome to another HealthWise by the St. Kitts Nevis Medical and Dental Association. We sincerely thank you for spending your Monday night with us because we know you could have spent it elsewhere or looking at other things. Our motto is working towards a healthier society. Hence, we use this platform to provide knowledge, a fundamental tool in taking control of your health. We also use this platform to develop healthy attitudes, making you become part of the discussion of taking care of you. We also use this platform to promote healthier lifestyles and in so doing, improving quality care of individuals and the community at large. And last but not least, and probably my favorite, we use this platform to increase visibility of our unsung heroes whose dedication and hard work and contribution to the health system many times go unnoticed. And if they were to step back, our health system would cease to exist. Good night once again. I am your host, Dr. Woodley, General Surgeon and President of the St. Kitts Nevis Medical and Dental Association. Tonight our topic is the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative. And I have two foot soldiers of the health system here with me tonight to help us understand why this program is so important, why this program is seen and done worldwide, why so many countries are striving to be designated as such. To my left, I have one of our newest specialists, Dr. Yannick Henry. Now don't get confused with Dr. Siobhan Henry. It's a Henry thing, but this is Dr. Yannick Henry, pediatrician. He's one of the newest addition, and he will be here to explain to us the importance of having a baby-friendly hospital. And to my right, I have registered nurse midwife Naomi Brombill, and we are so fortunate because she's the coordinator of the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative here in the Federation. So before we get into the meat of the matter, I'm going to have both of my panelists introduce themselves, and then we will begin our discussion. Let me say from the onstart, please be a part of this discussion. You can call in when we are almost wrapping up to give your take, because health is everybody's business. So Dr. Henry, a pleasant good night, and thank you for being here with us.
Good night, Dr. Woodley, and thank you for having me. As Dr. Woodley clearly stated, my name is Yannick Renard Julio Henry. I'm the newest pediatrician on the island, the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, and we are here just to enlighten you, just to educate you on the baby-friendly hospital initiative and also the very importance of breastfeeding.
And to my right, I have the coordinator, Nurse Naomi Brombill, who will actually introduce herself and give us a little insight as to the baby-friendly hospital initiative in the Federation.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Naomi Stapleton Brombill. I'm a registered nurse midwife at the JNF Hospital. I'm also one of the front runners when it comes to the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative. This is something we have been in the process of trying to become certified. We have already implemented many steps at the hospital. You will hear a little bit more about these steps that we have implemented, and I'm sure if you recently had a baby at the hospital, let's say in the past 2 years, this is something you may have heard the staff at the maternity and neonatal unit speaking about, and trying to get our patients to cooperate and understand why we do the things we do.
Okay. So can you actually, well, we can see on the screen that this baby-friendly hospital initiative was launched in 1991. Can you explain to us why that was launched?
The Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative was launched to try to get mothers and hospital to somewhat change the feeding patterns of our younger generation, which will also help to curb some of the diseases that we may be seeing in early childhood diseases, such as diabetes and other medical conditions. So it was launched in an effort to implement practices that protect the baby and breastfeeding on its own.
Okay. And during my little research, I realized that it was said about 20,000 hospitals worldwide, because what we want to get out there, it's not just a national effort or program. It is not something regional, but it is something that is global. And many hospitals are actually striving for that title, that certification. And I know we are one of the hospitals who is striving for such. In terms of the steps, are there, or what is the procedure as it relates to becoming a baby-friendly hospital?
There are 10 steps that must be implemented in order to become certified as a baby-friendly hospital. The first step, you must have a written breastfeeding policy that is routinely communicated to all healthcare staff, and this is something we have been doing over the past 2 or 3 years. We implemented a policy, and we have started communicating with staff, educating staff about breastfeeding and the importance of breastfeeding. And step number 2 is train all healthcare staff in skills necessary to implement this policy. And we have already started training. There were a number of staff, especially on the maternity unit, who received training in breastfeeding. I myself was one of those persons who were trained in breastfeeding. Step number 3 is inform all pregnant women about the benefits and management of breastfeeding. And this is something we have been doing for years. We have been educating our women about breastfeeding. We tell them what are the benefits and so forth, and how to manage breastfeeding. Step 4, help mothers initiate breastfeeding within 1 hour of birth. And this was started years ago, and then we had a little lapse in it, but we started it full force. So we help the mothers initiate breastfeeding within 1 hour of birth, and while we do that, we encourage our skin-to-skin immediately after birth, where the babies are placed on the mother's skin to do what we call skin-to-skin, and during that procedure, we encourage our mothers to initiate breastfeeding. Step number 5, show mothers how to breastfeed and how to maintain lactation, even if they are separated from their infants. And that is something we also do. We show them how to breastfeed, how to maintain lactation. Like, for instance, if you have a sick baby that might be at the nursery, that may not be at your bedside, we teach you ways of how you can continue to increase this milk production, and how you can still bond with your baby, although you all may be separated for some time. Number 6, give infants no food or drink other than breast milk unless medically indicated. And this is something that we strongly practice at our hospital. We don't give breast milk, formula, unless it is medically indicated. And Dr. Henry, I know he's new, but he can attest to this, because if there is any reason that we may identify that a baby may need formula, we usually call the pediatrician and update the pediatrician, and the pediatrician is the one who would order formula feeding or any other type of substitute feeding for this baby. Number 7, practice rooming in. Allow mothers and infants to remain together 24 hours a day. Now, if you have ever been to JNF Hospital to deliver, you would know that this is something we practice at all times. You will realize that your baby will be at you 24/7. The only time we remove the baby from your bedside is if there's a medical problem and we need to separate. But other than that, the baby will be at you 24 hours a day. Number 8, encourage breastfeeding on demand. This is something we practice. Some persons, you may not understand what we mean by when we say encourage breastfeeding on demand. It just means that we encourage you to breastfeed the baby how often the baby wants it, however long the baby wants it for. So we consider that on-demand feeding, no scheduled feeding. Back in the past, we used to hear that you breastfeed the baby every 2 to 3 hours. We no longer practice that. It's on-demand, meaning when the baby wants it, however long the baby wants it for. Number 9, give no pacifiers or artificial nipples to breastfeeding infants. We no longer uses bottles with feeding nipples at the hospital. We either cup feed the baby if they need to be fed, or if they're unable to cup feed, we use empty tube feeding, or we use syringes to feed. We don't advise mothers to use pacifiers or bottles. Even though we may have a baby who cannot be breastfed, we teach our mothers how to feed by other means, using other devices.
Okay, so Nurse Bumble, number 10. Oh, I can see that.
Foster the establishment of a breastfeeding support group and refer mothers to them on discharge from the hospital or the birth center. This is something we recently started, so we can say we have fulfilled number 10. We now have a breastfeeding support group where mothers can contact if they have any problems with breastfeeding. On this group, we have about 10 persons whom you can contact at any time if you need any assistance with breastfeeding.
Okay, so that was a mouthful. So in order for us to become certified, we would have to tick all of these boxes from 1 right through to number 10.
Yes.
So even if we miss one, then we will not be certified. What I'm also picking up is that these steps should be carried out in the hospital and maternity facilities. It is not extended to the home of the patient, or it is assumed that once they would have learned this in the hospital, then that information they would take with them to the homes. Okay? Now there are many steps. As we can see, there are 10 steps, but there are a few steps that we are going to focus on. This information is on the internet. You can go, you can look it up. This is a program that the Ministry of Health is working tediously and for a very long time on, because we are striving to become certified as a baby-friendly hospital. Now we're going to look at breastfeeding and why breastfeeding is so important and why this makes up one of the pivotal steps in this quest to become a baby-friendly hospital. So Dr. Henry, we're going to have you jump in here now and speak to us about breast milk and why it is important.
Well, breastfeeding is very, very important for the newborn, for the mother, and for the family. It has all the necessities needed for the child. It provides the nutrients. It helps fight all viruses and bacteria for the baby. Helps protect the baby against allergies, against sickness like diarrhea, respiratory problems, and also obesity. It also helps to prevent obesity in children. Also helps to prevent children from getting diabetes, type 1 especially. And it also helps, it contains natural antibodies. That is why children, they respond, the immune system, once they are breastfed, the immune system is so developed that the breastfeeding helps them to fight against other infections. And it protects against allergies, as I correctly stated before, and it increases vaccination efficacy. For the mom, it is very important. You know, many mothers don't like to breastfeed because many now are very young, and so they will say, oh, you know, I like to keep my figure.
And keep the breast perky.
Yeah. But breastfeeding is very important. For the mom, it helps lower the risk of breast and ovarian cancer, helps them to lose weight after pregnancy. Also, the uterus returns to its pre-pregnancy size. Also, it helps the sex without contraceptives. It helps also, and it also saves money. It helps to save money for the mother. So breastfeeding, as medical associate persons in medicine, we always try to implement that, especially on the ward, on maternity ward. We always try to educate the mothers on breastfeeding, because it is very, very, very important for the child, because it doesn't also help the child right now as the newborn, but it also helps in the future. Because there are statistics that says that breastfeeding patients, they do well in school, you know, they excel more. And so it is very important that we implement this breastfeeding. And also for our Spanish world, you know, we have the Spanish. So la ventaja de la leche materna es gratis. Siempre está la temperatura correcta sin importar la hora. Protege al bebé de infecciones y otras enfermedades, como dijo anteriormente en inglés, como el cáncer, como obesidad, como diabetes. Protege al bebé de alergias. Ayuda al crecimiento del bebé. Muy importante. Las madres tienden a perder el peso, ganar en el embarazo, evitar la desnutrición del bebé, también evitar enfermedades en la madre como la anemia y la hipertensión, evitar el estreñimiento del bebé, reducir el riesgo de cáncer en la madre, como dije anteriormente, cáncer de mama y cáncer ovario, ayuda en la visión del bebé porque tiene muchas vitaminas, la vitamina E, D que tiene, y fortalece el vínculo entre madre y hijo. Este es muy importante que tenemos que saber.
So that is very important, especially this last one that you read in Spanish, which is it helps the connection between the mother and the child. And I want to stick a pin here because one of the objectives of this baby-friendly hospital is to get your documentation in many languages.
Yes.
Because we have to realize we don't live in a vacuum anymore. We live with persons who speak many languages. And one of the other languages that we see growing here in St. Kitts, it's the language of Spanish. Y por eso pusimos ese diapositivas en español porque mucha gente que habla español está mirando. And we have to include everybody in this discussion. We cannot leave anybody out, and we are trying, as the association, we are trying to make this a all people thing. Everybody has to be involved, and we are trying to make everybody understand that they are part of this. So the advantages of breast milk, and that is what we are pushing, it actually supersedes any other thing, whether if it's not medically stipulated. If you don't have any problem, breastfeeding is actually the way to go. So how do you know that your child, because many parents would ask, and even when I gave birth, sometimes I would wonder, how do I know that my child is getting enough milk? What are the signs? What are the cues? You said something about giving baby the food on demand, but is this throughout, or should I start scheduling the babies probably after 2 months, 3 months? So you spoke about giving the baby when he or she needs it. How do I know that my baby is being fed properly? How do I know that my baby is not hungry? Any one of you can jump in here at any time. This is not my thing.
Okay, so we get this question a lot. Many mothers ask, nurse, how do I know my baby is getting enough? Or sometimes they might say, I don't think my baby is getting enough. One of the things that we usually ask, one of our first questions is, has the baby been passing stool or urine? And if they said yes, we will ask, how many times has the baby stool? How many times have you changed a diaper? This is an indication to us of how much the baby is getting. If the baby has 3 to 8 bowel movements in 24 hours, up to 10 is acceptable. Within 24 hours, then we know that our babies are getting enough. If the baby is being breastfed and passing urine, then we know something is going in, so you have something coming out. That is one of our indications. Also, a properly breastfed baby will be gaining weight and also will be sleeping for longer periods. Sometimes we may realize that one of the complaints might be that the baby is not sleeping for long, and we might encourage our mothers to try and breastfeed the baby for just a little bit longer, bearing in mind that some babies may fall asleep on the breast, and sometimes the mothers may think that the baby has completely fed because the baby has fallen asleep. So you also have to tell the mothers, not because the baby has fallen asleep mean that the baby is probably finished feeding. Usually when the baby is finished feeding, the baby will let go of the breast, not just fall asleep. Sometimes the mouth get tired and they may rest during the feed, so you just stimulate the baby to get the baby to suck a little longer. And we also encourage them, when you finish with one breast, you burp the baby and you place the baby on the other breast to see if the baby will take any more feed. Now if you're trying the baby on the other breast and the baby is taking the feed, obviously that baby was not full. But if the baby refusing the breast, the baby will usually pull its head away from the breast. You know that the baby has completed the feed and the baby has had enough.
Okay, so we have to count dirty diapers, we have to look at the urine, how many diapers are wet, and I realize they have these fancy diapers now that can tell you whether there's urine or not. I was amazed. I was like, oh, I didn't know what was happening.
The Pampers, there's a line in the Pamper.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that.
School, yeah.
There's a line in the Pamper,
yeah.
and usually the Pamper, the line in the Pamper changes its color when the child passes urine. So once you see that change in color, it means that the baby has passed urine. The Pamper might be dry, but once that color change, the baby has passed urine.
Okay, Dr. Henry, you was trying to get something in.
Yes, I wanted to say that sometimes I also tell the patient, because sometimes they will think that the baby is not getting enough milk, or the baby is not gaining weight as they will say. So once you place your baby on both breasts, then the baby is burped and goes to sleep. When the baby goes back to feed, the very last breast that you took the baby off of, then that's the first breast that you put the baby on. Why? Because the fat that is behind is now going to come forward, as we normally say, because the fatty part of the milk is to the back. So once that has already you already put the baby on the last breast, then that's the first breast that you put them on to get the fat that is behind. So then the baby will get enough milk, will feel full at the time of feeding.
Okay, we're going to take a break and pay some bills. We're going to listen to our sponsor, QDL, Quality Diagnostic Laboratory, and we'll be right back with you. Go grab an apple and get right back with us.
In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.
Welcome to the beautiful islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, we'll be spending time with the Wilberts. They're a happy family that love liming, and with plenty of food and drink to go around, life is good, but not for long. Sadly, the Wilberts never paid attention to what they ate or drank. And when asked to reduce those sugary drinks, they joked and said, "We will, but not today." Unfortunately, a year later, Mr. Wilbert had a stroke. And a few months after that, Mrs. Wilbert was diagnosed with diabetes. From hospital bills and the cost of drugs to time off work, this began to take its toll on the family. But it wasn't until they saw the effect it was having on their children that they finally decided to make a change. You see, the Wilberts realized their family was already sweet enough, and a healthy lifestyle was the best gift they could ever give them. What gift will you give your children?
In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.
Hello and good night, and welcome back to our program. This is HealthWise by the St. Kitts Nevis Medical and Dental Association. Tonight we are discussing the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. This is a program that was launched by the World Health Organization and UNICEF in 1991. With the objective of promoting breastfeeding, with the objective of keeping breast milk substitutes out of the hospitals and the maternity wards. Over the past 15 years, about 156 countries have adopted this system, and over 20,000 hospitals are designated as baby-friendly hospitals. Our hospitals in the Federation, the Alexandra Hospital and the JNF France Hospital, both hospitals are striving to become a baby-friendly hospital. With me tonight, I have Dr. Henry, pediatrician, one of the newest on board, and I also have Nurse Bumble, the coordinator of the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative in the Federation. So far, we have looked at the steps. There are 10 steps that need to be ticked off in order for you to be certified as a baby-friendly hospital. We have focused on the importance of breastfeeding, why you should breastfeed, the benefits of having a baby that is breastfed, and the benefits to the mother and the family when a baby is breastfed. We are also now going to look at the positions, because breastfeeding is one thing, but the position to get maximum breastfeeding is another. So we're going to look at the positions of breastfeeding, and we're going to have Dr. Henry, who's going to explain to us. And as we did in our last segment, we are trying to include as many persons as possible. We have some of our slides in Spanish. Those are for the persons who speak Spanish because many of them access our healthcare system. And as part of the objective of this Breast Baby Friendly Hospital initiative is getting documentation in as many languages as possible so everyone can be up to date. So Dr. Henry, can you explain to us the different positions of breastfeeding?
Well, there are a few positions of breastfeeding. I am going to mention a few of them, and my colleague, nurse, midwife, nurse Rumble, will demonstrate a few. We have one that is the cradle position. We have another that is cross cradle hold, the football hold, and the sideline position.
So, Dr. Henry, thank you. Then we're going to have Nurse Brumble now show us with her little baby how this is done. So persons can understand, because if you don't position the baby correctly, the baby will not be fed properly. Okay, so nurse is going to show us the different positions that Dr. Henry just spoke about so that our viewing audience can have a better understanding how it is done. And especially for our young mothers. And probably I need not to say young mothers because we have older mothers, because ladies are getting children at a much later stage now. And sometimes, although you're so mature, sometimes you don't know what to do.
Grandmothers too, because the grandmothers advised the new mothers as
okay, well. And that's something very important nurse is saying. For grandmothers who are looking, and we know grandmothers like to give a lot of advice. So you can look at Nurse Brumble, how she's going to show you, demonstrate to you how to hold your baby while that person is breastfeeding. Okay, Nurse Brumble, so take it away.
Okay, so you have your baby. Regardless of the position you choose, as Dr. Henry said, there are many different positions. I encourage my patients to choose whichever position you are most comfortable with. We also encourage mothers, depending on their breast sizes as well, to use different positions.
The nurse, I can see you really care about that baby.
She rubbed it.
Yeah, baby.
So something you must know, regardless of the position you choose, there are some steps that you must follow in order to get the baby properly attached to the breast, and that is alignment with the breast. So if you are using the cradle hold, the head would be in the crook of the elbow, so it goes here. The baby face must be facing the breast. The baby must be at the height of the breast. So even if you are in a sideline position, using the cradle position, using the football hold, the baby must be at the height of the breast. That's one of the first steps. The head must be facing the breast with the nose and the mouth aligned with the nipple, and the baby should be in a side lying position. Side lying with the ear, shoulder, and hip aligned. So it's a belly to belly position with the baby at the height of the breast. You ensure that the baby's mouth is wide open before you attempt placing the baby on the breast. There's a dark area just behind the nipple. We call that the areola, and that is the area you want in the baby's mouth, not just the nipple. If you place just the nipple in the baby's mouth, the breast becomes sore. So you have your baby, you turn the baby on the side, place the head in the crook of the elbow, make sure that the face is facing the breast, the nipple, the nose, the nipple and the mouth are aligned. The mouth is open wide, the baby is in an aligned position, and you place the baby on the breast.
Wow.
Even if I decide to use the football hold, I still will have to ensure that the baby is at the height of my breast, not down in my lap where I would have to be bending over. That will become uncomfortable, your back will start to hurt you, so you would not be able to breastfeed for long. Breastfeeding has to be comfortable. So you place the baby at the height of the breast, side-lying position, ensure that the ear, the shoulder, and the hip is aligned, and the face is facing the breast with the nipple, nose, and mouth aligned. So regardless, even if I'm lying on the side, it's the same way. Baby facing me, baby at the height of the breast, mouth open, baby attached to the nipple.
I know you look so much, you are such a pro on this. I am really impressed. That was perfect. I don't think we can speak after that. But another thing which I want to point out is supporting of the head.
Yes.
That I realized while you were doing it, I mean, that hand was under the head. Yes. Because especially when the baby's under 3 months, you know, they don't have that control of the head. Yes. So you always have to make sure you support that head, no matter, especially if you have them in the football position, yes, and even that cradle position that you demonstrated. So perfect.
And you also have to support the breasts as well.
Oh, you have to support your breasts.
Okay. I didn't mention that.
Okay, let's see that.
But the baby is facing the breast. Mm-hmm. You have this hand usually go at the back, down the back to the buttocks, and you have this hand to support the breast. Not like this. We see a lot of this where mothers have their hand like this, mm-hmm, on the breast, but it should be like this. Okay. So you should be like this, supporting the breast and the baby. So this is the position, okay, actually.
So I guess I did
when
it
you
wrong.
Do this, we call this the scissors hold, yeah, and this helps to block the ducts so the milk don't flow as well as it should. So you cup the breast instead of using a scissors press. Okay? Okay,
nurse, I think you came along 14 years too late. I think I did it wrong. I hope Naya is not watching this. I hope not at all, but that was great. Another thing that I want to highlight is how to latch the baby on, because you spoke about that a bit. Dr. Henry, I'm going to have you speak on that, and then I'm going to have the nurse again come back in. The importance, that word latching on. What does it mean, and the importance of it, and how it is done? Okay, so Dr. Henry, let's hear you.
Perfect latch on. At some point in time, there were some times when the babies don't latch on properly, and you hear the babies. That is not a perfect latch, because parents will think that the baby is latched properly.
Yeah, because they hear the sound.
Yes, because they hearing the sound. But what the baby is just sticking in his ear, mm-hmm, right? And so perfect latch, the correct latch is mouth covers the areola. As the nurse clearly states, that's the black area around before around the nipple. Yeah. So the mouth is latched around the area. The lips are flung out. That is the correct latch, right? So when you hear your baby saying, no, this is not a kissing mode. It is the perfect latch, because then that baby is going to be filled with ear, and then afterwards, then you're going to have problem. You're going to say, oh, my baby, look at you have gas. Yes. So that is the perfect latch. Your mouth covers the areola and lips are flung out.
Okay, so as usual, we have another, well, not as usual, we have a slide here as well in, yes, Spanish. So that if persons who are looking, who speak Spanish, they can have an idea as to what we are speaking about. So, Dr. Henry, I don't know if you want to go ahead and explain.
Yes, rendimiento perfecto. Las mejillas redondeadas y sin aureolas, ¿ya? Y la mandíbula inferior se mueve hacia arriba y hacia abajo. La oreja y la sien también se mueve. Otra cosa, el pezón y la mayor parte de la areola queda dentro de la boca del bebé. Boca bien abierta. No se escuchan chasquitos. ¿Cómo?
Chasquitos.
Los labios evertidos, boca de pez. La barbilla está rozando el pecho y la nariz pueden estar rozando o no. Se puede ver y oír como traba.
So this is important, the perfect latch on, because without the baby latching on, it doesn't matter the position you're in. If the baby doesn't latch on, then you're going to have a problem. So nurse, why sometimes some babies don't latch on properly?
Sometimes the baby does not latch properly because of the incorrect positioning. Now, there were some steps that I had identified before when I was demonstrating how the baby is to be latched to the breast. Now, if the baby is not positioned properly, then the baby would not be able to attach properly to the areola. Hence, the baby would be what we call nipple feeding, and will just be getting small amounts of milk, and the nipple can become bruised, the breast can become engorged, and in more severe cases, the mom can end up with mastitis.
Okay, so one of the reasons would be a swollen breast, a breast that is inflamed,
yes.
a breast, and sometimes the nipples can get little cracks.
Yes,
and
that is due to poor attachment. Yeah. Poor attachment, which is usually as a result of bad positioning.
Okay, so let me just recap, because we are focusing on the breastfeeding, which is just one of the many steps or one of the 10 steps of becoming a baby-friendly hospital. But it is pivotal in getting healthy children, getting children who would exceed and excel in school. That is why we are paying so much attention to this. Of course, when nurse gets back to her ward and gets back to her different meetings, she's going to continue ticking her ticks from 1 right through to number 10, so that in the near future, we can be designated a baby-friendly hospital. Now, breast milk. I'll be honest, I got scared when I saw the first breast milk. I thought something was wrong. It was so yellow. I was wondering what was happening. And then I realized, okay, and although, I was already a doctor, I had gone through gynecology, pediatrics, but sometimes when you become a patient, it's all of that sometimes goes through the door. So when I saw the first set of milk that was so yellow, I got so afraid, and I was wondering if something was
When we think of milk, we think of white.
Because when we think of milk, we think of the pearly gates and things that are white. So can you explain to us, Dr. Henry, the different types of breast milk? Because persons like myself, this information would have probably helped. The different types of breast milk.
So we have the colostrum, which is comes from the pregnancy, the second trimester, to the day 2 to 5 days after birth. That's the colostrum. Then we have the other stage, that is the transitional milk. That's from the 5 to up to 4 weeks after birth. We also have the mature milk. This stage can last days or years, and the involution milk, which is weaning process. As we could see on the screen, on day 3, that's how the milk will look very yellow, and some persons will get scared as to the color, because we always think that milk is yes, the colostrum or the early milk. So we have the colostrum, or the early milk, is produced in the late stage of the pregnancy till 4 days after delivery, and it is rich in antibodies. That is why it is very important, the breastfeeding process, because the colostrum has antibodies inside of it that helps to protect the newborn from any illness and diseases that could cause them any harm. We have the transitional milk, which produced from day 4 to 10, which is low in protein in comparison to the colostrum. And then we have the mature milk. So all these stages have different elements that are inside of them that is very important to the newborn. So that is why we encourage parents to breastfeed at least up to 6 months. But in our federation, it's very hard to reach at least 5 months.
But it's interesting that you say that, though, because Mothers, once they give birth, they are given 3 months maternity leave. Some mothers, they try to divide it into before and after birth. So sometimes it's just like a month and a half. So it is hard to, well, nurse, I mean, I know this is just me throwing out things out there. And if the policymakers are listening, this is where we probably need policies that would actually, because we cannot be pushing breastfeeding for 6 months, and our policy says to give 3 months maternity leave. Dr. Henry and I, we studied in Cuba, where maternity leave is 1 year.
1 year.
Whole long year, all the bonding, wooming, cuddling, football, cradle hold, everything. One year you get to be with your baby. So it's almost a paradox that we are pushing 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, and then mommy has to go back out to work 3 months after. And if she splits it up a month and a half before and after, then by 6 weeks she's back out. So the baby sometimes when I get the breastfeeding. But then nurse, I know you have something up your sleeve. Yes. How do we get around that? Because they say you're watching me with your eyes open wide. How do you get around that? How do you get around that my baby is breastfed when I go back to work and the baby is 6 weeks?
This is where expression,
milk
expression comes in. At the hospital, we teach our mothers how to express breast milk and how to store it. Because yes, we encourage our mothers to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months. Exclusively meaning no formula, no water, no juices, no other foods, but breast milk. So some might say, but nurse, I got to go back out to work next month, or I gonna be out before the 6 months, and how I gonna continue that? This is where the nurses comes in now and teaches the mothers how to express breast milk, how to store it, and how to prepare it after storing.
So the milk would be good. So
yes,
and
so you can actually express breast milk and store it for up to the 6 months if it's done correctly.
Correctly, yeah. So it can be done.
It can be done. It's
so
possible.
Even though we go back out to work, the baby is 6 weeks. At mornings, I would get up, express the milk, and then as you can see on the screen, we have some storage guidelines. Nurse, I don't know if you want to just run through quickly before we take a break.
Okay. For the countertop, I only encourage storing at countertop if you are going to use it right away or shortly after you have expressed it. If not, you store it in the refrigerator. And in the refrigerator, it can last up to 5 days. As you can see here, 5 days, sometimes up to a week, all depending on the temperature of the refrigerator. In a freezer compartment of your refrigerator, it can last there for up to 2 weeks. In your deep freeze, it could last up to 3 to 6 months in a deep freeze. So it all depends on where and how you store it. And I also encourage my mothers to store the milk in the amounts that you are going to use so that you don't waste it. If your baby usually eats, let's say a newborn baby can sometimes eat up to 90 mils, which is 3 ounces. I encourage you to store at least 4 ounces, so just in case if the baby takes a little bit more than the 3 ounces, you have a little extra and you don't have much wasted. Because if you store it in, let's say, 5-ounce containers, you have 2 ounces there being wasted that could have been used. And you only have 24 hours to use it if you prepare it. And how you prepare it, you don't boil it, you don't put it in a microwave, you just get some, you could leave it at room temperature, let it come down to room temperature, or you can put it in a warm container of water. And you have 24 hours to use that. So after the 24 hours, whatever is left, you have to discard it.
Okay, thank you, Nurse Brumble. And we're going to hear from our sponsors, QDL, who is so grateful to be sponsoring our show. And we'll be right back. So go grab a healthy snack and come on right back with us.
In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.
Welcome to the beautiful islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, we'll be spending time with the Wilberts. They're a happy family that love liming, and with plenty of food and drink to go around, life is good, but not for long. Sadly, the Wilberts never paid attention to what they ate or drank. And when asked to reduce those sugary drinks, they joked and said, "We will, but not today." Unfortunately, a year later, Mr. Wilbert had a stroke. And a few months after that, Mrs. Wilbert was diagnosed with diabetes. From hospital bills and the cost of drugs to time off work, this began to take its toll on the family. But it wasn't until they saw the effect it was having on their children that they finally decided to make a change. You see, the Wilberts realized their family was already sweet enough, and a healthy lifestyle was the best gift they could ever give them. What gift will you give your children?
In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.
Hello, good night, and welcome back to HealthWise by the St. Kitts Nevis Medical and Dental Association. Tonight we are discussing the Baby Friendly Hospital initiative in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, an initiative that was launched by the World Health Organization and UNICEF in 1991. It's a global effort to implement practices that protect, promote, and support breastfeeding. Here with me tonight in the studio is Dr. Yannick Henry, pediatrician, and registered nurse midwife, Nurse Naomi Brumble. So far, we have done many things. We have looked at breastfeeding, the importance of breastfeeding, positions while you are breastfeeding, and we are also looking at, we are going to look at some other reasons why some persons cannot breastfeed. Before we get into that, however, we looked at the different types of breast milk. We had the colostrum, the transitional milk, and we had the mature milk, and we had the milk that was in involution. I want to ask a question before we move on. How long should the mother breastfeed? Should we stop after the 6 months that is being pushed? Or should we continue? Because I know some parents, mothers, 3 years and the child is still breastfeeding. So how long should we promote this breastfeeding? Nurse? Or doc?
Well, according to World Health Organization, they encourage breastfeeding up to 2 years and beyond. So
That is long.
Yes.
Long.
Very
Yes,
long.
2 years
So what
and
happens to the
beyond.
breast after breastfeeding so long? Is it a myth that after you would have breastfed so long, it actually, distorts the breast gets longer? What are your thoughts on it's a myth?
It's a myth.
It's a myth.
Yes.
Okay, cool, no problem. Now we looked at the different breast milk colors. And while I was doing my research, I saw some different colors that can actually come out of the breast. So I'm going to have Dr. Henry go through these colors and for mothers to know if it's something that they should be worried about, something that they should go to their pediatrician for, or that they should just stay home and it will just go away on its own. So Dr. Henry, please to help us understand the different colors of breast milk.
We have the breast milk color guide, as stated. We have the yellow, which is the normal during colostrum stage. Foods such as turmeric can also produce that yellow tint color of the milk. And sometimes you have the green color. You don't get scared of that because sometimes it's because of what you eat and the medication that you're on. If accompanied by symptoms of illness or any sort of health reactions, call your healthcare provider. If the milk is red, rust, or pink, then a lot of people start to get scared because they think it's blood. And so it's from diet with red-colored food or drinks, beets, candies, jellies, or just soda. It may also be from blood, so contact your doctor if you see this color persisting. And the black color, as you can see on the screen, one of the most unusual colors, which is a sign to get to the doctor. Consult your physician.
So nurse, in your practice, have you seen these colors?
Yes, I've seen most of them.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen green,
Okay.
but I've seen the others.
And how was the reaction of the patient when she saw that color of the milk? Or let me ask you, how was your reaction?
Well, my first experience was seeing a rust color milk. And to be honest, I was alarmed. I was like, what kind of color milk is this? We had contact the patient's doctor and the pediatrician, and at one point the baby was still allowed to feed. Well, feeding was paused for some time and then resumed, and eventually it cleared up on its own.
Okay.
When it was the blackish color breast milk, breastfeeding was stopped until it cleared up. That also cleared up on its own, but in the meantime, breastfeeding was stopped.
Okay. We have to be realistic. Some persons, although we are pushing and promoting breastfeeding, we have to be realistic that some persons, for many reasons, some persons will not be able to breastfeed. There are some reasons that are absolute, which means that no matter what, you would not be able to breastfeed. And there are some that, it's dependent on other factors. So Dr. Henry, help us to understand that as well, as it relates to the contraindications or reasons why some persons should not breastfeed.
Contraindications or reasons why a person should not breastfeed. We have hypogalactosemia. We have phenylketonuria. We have lactose intolerance. So those babies that where there is intolerance to the lactose that's in the milk, and so it could cause diarrhea also. So we have persons that have the active herpes simple virus. We have those persons that are on meds, for especially those that have HIV and AIDS and HIV and AIDS treatment. Birth control medication containing estrogens. We have those, I know most of them are not there on the screen. We have cancer chemotherapy agents also. So those persons that are on cancer chemotherapy agents should not be breastfeeding. And as we know, substance abuse, drug abuse. We have the cocaine, the marijuana, heroin. We have the alcohol, the psychological disorders also. Those schizophrenias, postpartum psychosis, etc., should not be breastfeeding. And those that are taking certain medication, and on the screen we have a few mentioned. We have the bromocriptine and the aspirin. So these are just some of the few things and some of the few contraindications, reasons why persons should not be breastfeeding.
Okay, can we get the numbers at the bottom of the screen so that if persons want to call in and be part of discussion, feel free to do so. So the numbers are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the overseas line is 1-239-645-4500. Okay, so we have looked at some of the reasons why persons should not breastfeed. As it relates to HIV, should we allow mothers to breastfeed if they are HIV positive? Anyone?
They can breastfeed, but for our institution, well, let me start from the beginning. According to the World Health Organization, a mom who is HIV positive can breastfeed, but breastfeeding should only be offered if there is no access to clean running water, if there will be problems with receiving substitute feeds such as formulas and so forth. In our part of the world, we don't have a problem with clean running water, and we don't have a problem with accessing formulas because our government facilitates with persons who cannot breastfeed and will need assistance with formula. They assist. So in our federation, we don't encourage our mothers with HIV and other blood transmittable diseases to breastfeed.
Okay. And I was also asked a question at one point in time: if you are COVID-19 positive and you just gave birth, are you allowed to breastfeed? What's the protocol as it relates to that?
Well, for our protocol, we follow the CDC protocol where you still can breastfeed your baby even if you are COVID positive. Remember, as Dr. Henry was saying, it helps the baby to get antibodies, and we want to build the baby immune system. We want the baby to have a healthy immune system, so breastfeeding is actually encouraged.
Okay, we seem to have a call, so we're going to try to get that call in. Caller, good night, you are on. Hello, good night.
Yeah, thanks for the service y'all have been doing. And I want to welcome back Dr. Yannick to the Federation to help us out in the Federation. An observation how North Bramble this demonstrates. I've noticed a number of mothers feed the baby wrongly. And my question, what causes the baby to vomit during or just after breastfeed? Thank you.
Okay, caller, thank you so much for your call, and it's nice when we have the men calling in, when we have topics like these. It's nice when the men are listening. So, caller, first of all, congratulated Doc for being one of the newest specialists here in the Federation. He also asks why sometimes a baby would vomit while breastfeeding. And caller, thank you, because I want to piggyback on that, and I would like Nurse Bumble to demonstrate to us, before she speaks about why some babies would vomit, how do you burp the baby? Because that seems to be an issue. Some persons after they breastfeed will just put the baby down, and then that can cause problem. So you can demonstrate to us, how you burp the baby, and either you or Dr. Henry can speak as to the many reasons why a baby would vomit during breastfeeding.
So we teach our mothers 2 ways to burp the baby. We either ask them to place the baby over the shoulder with one hand around the buttocks and the other hand at the back, and we give firm pats. Some mothers, they will tell you the baby is not burping because they're not patting, they're patting very lightly. But it should be firm pats, and you pat the back. There's also the position where you put the baby in a sitting position over the lap, and you support. As you said before, everything for a newborn baby is support. So you have to support and you pat the back. As I said, firm pats, and this should be done after every feed. If you feed the baby and you don't burp the baby after feeding and you put the baby to lie down, the baby tends to vomit. So that could be one of the reasons why the baby vomits after a feed.
Okay, and what are some of the other reasons, Dr. Henry, you think that would cause the baby to vomit during feeding?
Well, during feeding and just after feeding, sometimes some mothers think that the baby don't get enough, so they latch them on again, and so that makes the baby like too full, overfeeding of the baby. And I just want to say that spitting up and dribbling of milk when burps is just a normal thing. It's just a normal thing in newborns, because the sphincter muscle between the stomach and the esophagus, which is the tube from the mouth to the stomach, is not as strong as ours. So sometimes a child might feed, and so as soon as they burp, it comes back.
A little bit comes back.
Right? It's because the sphincter, the little muscle there that closes everything that goes into the stomach, is not as strong, so everything just comes back out. And it also depends on how you burp your babies.
So in terms of, so if that is not the case, so if the mother is feeding the baby correctly, have the position correctly, the sphincter is not the problem, there's any other thing that would cause the baby to vomit during feeding?
Shaking up of the baby.
Yeah, we love to do that. Yeah.
Yes,
but that's what the grandmothers teach us.
Yes.
When you feed it, you shake and shake and shake, and then when you shake it,
you shake up the baby. If you have a bottle of Coke, when you shake it, what happens?
Okay, it comes
good.
Up. Yeah, good analogy. Good analogy.
It's the same thing. The baby is full, and so once you keep shaking the baby, then the baby vomits also.
Okay, I mean, and as a surgeon, there are some anatomical problems that the baby can have why he or she would be vomiting during breastfeed. So, for example, if the stomach, if the passage that leads from the stomach to the intestine, if there's a problem, if it is closed off, or if it's blocked, or the passage is very small, then you can have the baby vomiting during feeds. So if you see this is happening for a very long period or over and over, and the baby is losing weight, then we know probably it's not just something so benign, something so simple, and we probably would have to, and if it's projectile, they will probably have to get the surgeon involved to see what is happening, what is going on. So caller, your call was well accepted. The nurse and doctor, they have explained fully why the baby would be vomiting during being breastfed. Another thing that I saw is that if the mother is anxious, because something that we need to let our mothers know, when you're going to breastfeed, you have to be calm, because mothers normally transmit their feelings to the baby.
Yes. Okay.
So if you're the mother, you are anxious and you're ready to go, and you have to go to work. I'm pushing for this 6 months year policy for mothers to stay home. And if the time is running out because you probably would have gone home lunchtime to breastfeed, and your hurry, the baby feels that sensation, and while you're feeding the baby, he or the little girl, she feels that negative vibes, as we say, and then that too can cause the baby to vomit. Yes. And what about if the baby is allergic to the mom's milk? Isn't that the reason why? Yes. The baby can also
lactose intolerance.
Lactose intolerance. So there are many reasons, but the objective of our association and this program is just to sensitize you. We won't be able to give you all the information, but we want to let you know, or to direct you in the correct places to look for the information. The World Health Organization, these are good sources, UNICEF, PAHO, and everybody has the internet on their phones, they have it on all their devices. Just go to these websites if you are a new mother and look the information up. Now, Dr. Henry, if the person cannot breastfeed, what do we do? What do we tell the mother? What is next? If I cannot breastfeed my baby, should I would leave my baby there to be hungry? What's next?
Well, if the baby cannot be breastfed, if there's any contraindications, then we look to formulas, like as we see on the screen, breast milk substitutes, we have the Similac, then we have the Infamil, another one, which these are all American formulas. We have the Similac, we have the Infamil, and we have the Neutrolon also.
And something I want to put in here while you're speaking, because the formula can be either cow or soy.
Soy, oh yes.
So if your child is lactose intolerant, you cannot go and buy a formula that is from a cow.
A cow.
It has to be soy.
Soy.
So, because I think that's, a misconception in the Federation that once it's formula, formula is soy. So if you can't breastfeed because your child is lactose intolerant, then you go and you buy a formula that comes from a cow, and then the child continues with the problem. So I think that is something that we need to highlight and let mothers realize. The formula can be cow or soy. Okay, from a cow
from cow or soy milk.
Or soy milk.
Especially if the child is lactose intolerant and they have diarrhea, what we, the pediatrician, normally suggest is to change from the Similac milk or the lactogen, and you use the soy milk, which doesn't have the lactose inside of it, right? Which will make the lactose intolerance even more progressive for the baby. So the breastfeeding, yes, it's very important, but there are mothers that cannot breastfeed because of certain medical illness, or there are some that just don't want to, but we encourage breastfeeding. So we have the substitute, which are the American formulas, which are Similac, the Enfamil, and also the Nestils, which are the lactogens and the NANs.
So what if the mother decides, I just don't want to breastfeed? Does she have the right just to say, well, I guess she does. Does she have the right to say, I don't want to breastfeed? Yes. And what would, well, I know you would try to push it, but a mom can just decide, we'll do not want to breastfeed.
We would educate the mom as to the benefits, the pros and cons of breastfeeding, the pros and cons of formula feeding. And if she still insists that she don't want to breastfeed, we have to call the pediatrician and let the pediatrician speak to her, and the pediatrician will be the one to order which formula he thinks will best suit the baby, and he's the one who have to prescribe the feed.
So the pediatrician would have to prescribe the type of formula for the baby. Okay, interesting.
Yes. And another thing that I wanted to pinpoint, that for the American formulas, which are the Similac and the Infamil, sometimes is how it's prepared also. So what I would like to say is, for these type of formulas, we give 2 ounces of water for 1 scoop of milk. For the Similac and the Infamil, 2 scoops of water and 1 scoop of milk. For the lactogen, it's 1 to 1. Always 1 to 1.
But these instructions would be on the tin, no?
Yes, it would be on it, but sometimes...
Because sometimes, you want 2 and 3 scoops because you want it thick. Oh, Lord.
But the instructions are there, but we, the pediatricians, we still have to educate them.
Okay.
Because, they still don't look at the instructions and read them.
Yeah, because you think, the more scoops you throw in,
the more richer
the richer it is, the more nutrients the baby is getting, and that is actually not the truth.
Yes.
So another myth, but I don't know if it's a myth. I think it's a myth. The larger the breast, the more milk. The smaller the breast, the less milk.
No, No, that has nothing to do with it.
Okay, good. No, because some persons will say, but Dr. Woodley, my breast small, so I don't have any milk.
Growing up, you hear that a lot.
We hear that a lot. But I know from a surgical point of view, all females have basically the same amount
You
of
have the
breast
same
ducts.
structure.
15 to 20 breast ducts. What
Yeah.
makes the difference is the fat around the breast ducts. So it doesn't matter. The size of your breast does not indicate the amount of milk you will produce. So that's another myth. Now, one of the steps is give no artificial teats or pacifiers. That would be my slide 23. And I want both of you to speak on this, because back in the day, that was the thing. You push a pacifier in the baby's mouth and you felt as if you were doing something good to calm the baby. Why one of the steps in becoming baby friendly that they are now advocating that we do not use these things?
The no pacifiers step, we encourage this because it tends to confuse a breastfeeding baby. They tend to get accustomed to the pacifier, and when you try any other nipple in the baby's mouth, the baby is not that acceptable to it. So we don't want a breastfeeding baby to be confused with the different nipples. So that is one of the reasons why we encourage just breastfeeding, just breast milk. Also, some pacifiers changes the palates of the mouth, and so you might be having to take your baby to the dentist earlier than expected, because it changes the shape of the palate. You might end up having problems with the structures of the teeth and so forth. So the breast itself does not do that, but pacifiers and bottle nipples and so forth can cause problems with that.
I don't know if Ziz, the producers, I'm being told that we're having a lot of comments on Facebook. Is that possible for us to know what is being said there? Somebody is calling, I guess, some questions, because most persons will look at it on either YouTube or Facebook. Okay, so nurse, you said something important about the dentition, which I never even actually thought about, because the pacifier can actually change the shape
of the palate.
And then that would in turn affect, the teeth growth and shape, etc. Okay.
And also too, pacifiers tend to cause the infants to get a lot of gas.
Yeah.
Because usually if you're sucking on the breast, you will be getting milk. But you're sucking on a pacifier and you're just getting air. So it causes the baby to become gassy. The baby can become gassy.
So nurse, I'm going to put you on the spot. Where are we? Do you think we're going to get it in terms of being certified?
In my honest opinion, I think it can happen.
And I think we need to involve, because honestly, I did not even know this was happening in the Federation. And I want to thank Latoya Duncan, Mistress Duncan, who works at the Ministry of Health, who met me, and she began explaining this to me, and she said to me, can we use the platform of the association to come forward with it? And I was so, overwhelmed by her. That's when she started speaking to me about it. And I think if we get more persons on board, get the different departments in on it as well, and to give support, because sometimes all you need is support from the other departments in order for us to get through. I even told her, whenever that assessment, I want to be there too. Because I am really interested in it. I am so happy that you guys decided to use us to come forward with this information. I hope the persons who would have listened would have learned something. When you learn something, just don't keep it to yourself, spread the word. This would be rebroadcasted, so I know persons again would have a look at it again. But I feel confident based on how you're speaking, being the coordinator. You sound on top of your game. The way I see you handle, the little baby. And you have Dr. Henry now, who is here with you,
yes.
Who I know he has already started helping you, etc. We are now wrapping down, or we're wrapping up. I've been told that we are having some comments on what's not on Facebook, but can't get on there. And for those of you who are viewing us via YouTube or at home via television, this has been a serious topic. It is something that is ongoing and has been ongoing globally since 1991. making hospitals around the world baby friendly. I would have thought that all hospitals would have been baby friendly. I did not realize there were specific steps in making it totally, completely baby friendly. And this is an initiative, this is a program that the Ministry of Health has embarked on. This is a program that seeks to promote and support breastfeeding. And our nurse who was here with us, Nurse Bumble, she has explained quite eloquently in great details the findings and what we are doing in our federation to get ourselves to that level. I'm going to do my wrap up here before you two guys, and Nurse Bumble and Dr. Henry, I wish you guys every success in this initiative. Anyway, the association can help in terms of getting this initiative to an end, to a fin, please call on us. If you need us to come down on the maternity ward and show you, show babies, show mothers how to birth, etc., we are there to support, because we would really like our institutions in the Federation to become baby-friendly certified.
Yes.
So as our outthrow, we're going to have Nurse Bumble and Dr. Henry give their last thoughts as it relates to a baby-friendly hospital. To all my listening viewers, to all my persons who are viewing via home, on YouTube or television, I want to say a pleasant good night, have a safe week, and be kind.
Yes, just to wrap up tonight, for the Baby Friendly Hospital initiative, also we would love the fathers to get on board.
Yes.
Because a family really helps to bring a child up to where he or she needs to go and grow. So it is very important that you breastfeed your child, and if you have any condition, any medical condition that allow you not to breastfeed, remember there are different types of formulas that you could use, and any problems or any advice that you may need as a mother, a father, a grandmother, a family, that you may need in training or raising that child the way it should go. We are here as the medical association groups, and as a pediatrician, I am here in the federation to help our children and adults, try to make pediatric very good and try to get it as to the level that it needs to be in the federation, with myself, my colleagues here, and all the other medical association members, and even our pediatrician here on St. Kitts and in Nevis. We look forward to serving you, and God bless.
Okay, I just want to thank everyone for listening to us this evening. It's been a pleasure to be here and to educate the general public on the Baby Friendly Hospital Initiative, because we need everyone on board, we need everyone's support. One of the things that I forgot to mention is that fathers, we encourage your support as well. Fathers, you can also do skin to skin. We have had instances where it wasn't the mother who did the skin to skin, was the father who did the skin to skin. So we encourage that. And there are instances where the mother might have a cesarean section and she might not be awake enough to perform the skin to skin. We just want the dads to know that they can come and they can be allowed, they will be allowed to perform the skin to skin. As again, I just want to say thank you all for listening. And thank you, and we encourage your continued support, and we look forward to announcing that the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis has been certified as a baby-friendly hospital.
Thank you once again.
In these uncertain times, good health is a must. Let Quality Diagnostic Laboratory provide you with fast, accurate results of the medical laboratory tests that you need. At QDL, our qualified and experienced staff can provide a host of blood, urine, and other tests in a safe, confidential, comfortable, and welcoming environment. We are open Monday to Friday from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays to 12 noon. We are at the corner of Fines Avenue and Keon Street. Contact us at info@qualitydiagnosticlab.com or call 869-465-6657. And yes, si habla español. Quality Diagnostic Laboratory. Excellence in performance.